You will see me beating this to death in the coming weeks. The U.S. Small Business Administration is auditing the COVID-19 Economic Injury Disaster Loans, or EIDLs as I prefer to call them. We are seeing our clients are getting emails from the SBA for what the SBA is calling post-closing compliance review. And they are requiring that you submit within 7 days tax transcript that you have to download from the IRS and the 2019 tax return. Yeah, the same tax return that you reported data about your income, your revenue to the SBA when you applied for this loan back in 2020. This is real. Please don't come into our comments and tell me that this is fake. I've already seen it multiple times. Our EIDL Resource Hub gives you answers on how to resolve this issue, and our live broadcast on November 6th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, we'll be doing a live YouTube broadcast to answer your questions about this topic. SBA is auditing COVID-19 EIDLs, and when you applied for these loans on the SBA portal, if you recall, you were self-certifying the information that you were presenting, including your revenue and your expenses, cost of goods sold, and so on. Well, now SBA is sending out emails to people demanding that you provide to them within 7 days a downloaded transcript of your 2019 tax return from the irs.gov website and a copy of your 2019 tax return, and in some instances, other documents. Yeah, they are looking at these files to compare these against what you put on the application in 2020. You should be very aware of this, and you should be rather scared about it, and it needs to be done right. We're going live November 6th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time to answer your questions about this and other topics related to the EIDL program and natural disaster loans. No, SBA, really. I'm just going to say this to the Small Business Administration. So you small business owners just just sit back and just watch me rant for a moment. SBA, let me ask you this as a retired loan officer. I did mortgage banking primarily on federal government loans, the FHA, VA loans programs for 30 years. And I'm very familiar with quality control measures to prevent against fraud. So my question is this, SBA, when you are auditing these COVID-19 EIDL files, as you have begun doing, although you told me on the phone the other day you've been doing this all along, except I'm just now seeing it with clients. Okay, you have the small business owner going to the irs.gov website to download a transcript of the 2019 tax return. Can you even go back that far with the IRS? But also, wait, shouldn't the SBA be getting that transcript from them? Because I will tell you, SBA people can dummy up documents. They do it. They make up fake documents. So you're leaving this in the hands. So we're going to continue that self-certification process. Is that what you're saying? I'm very confused, SBA, especially when I saw that article in Forbes this morning that supposedly the SBA is really spending a lot of time and attention and money to focus on fraud, to prevent fraud with natural disaster loans, to root out fraud in the COVID-19 program, where your Office of Inspector General wrongly, in my personal and professional opinion, has alleged massive fraud in the COVID program. And I'm pretty sure that dude and his office wouldn't know a real criminal if it fell out of the sky and hit them on the head like an acorn on top of a squirrel. But that's only because there's a squirrel outside my window and an oak tree. But seriously, SBA, this is what you're doing? I'm so confused. So to be clear, you're getting the small business owner to go to the IRS website. Well, to do that, first they have to go to the ID website. I think it's id.me, and they have to create the identity verification profile, which then allows them to access the irs.gov website, where they will download a tax transcript and then send you the tax transcript. That is not a quality control measure that is valid in any auditing sphere on planet Earth, SBA. Once again, SBA, you prove that when it comes out here to the real world of small business and lending practices, there's so much that this administration doesn't know. Now, back to you small business owners. If you want to know more about this, tune in November 6th, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. We will be doing a live Q&A. Go Yankees. Okay, it's too dark, so we're going to flip it around because the hair is really spiky. Linda Ray will tell you that I have made predictions about the COVID Economic Injury Disaster Loan EIDL program since the early days of the pandemic, when we assisted our clients get approved for $70 million. And here on YouTube with the free videos we did, we estimate people got another $30 million in approved loans with our advice. And I've made all kinds of predictions, and Linda Ray will tell you that literally every prediction I have made since the days of the pandemic has come true. One of those predictions was you need to get your ducks in a row paperwork-wise because they are going to audit these files at some point. And it is happening. We have had multiple clients and folks reach out to us saying they got an email from SBA, post-closing compliance review, and the SBA is asking for 2019 tax transcript that you have to download from the IRS, 2019 tax return, and other information because they want to verify that the revenue and other ownership information, but primarily the revenue that you put on the COVID application, which if you remember was self-certified at the time, you didn't have to prove anything. You just had to say, this is how much money I made, this is my cost of goods sold, and they approved the loan. Well, now they're looking back, and I was a mortgage banker for 30 years, specializing in government lending. I have seen it in my own experience where the federal agencies come back months or years later to review and audit files. My good friend Kenny, who was a senior underwriter at a bank I worked at, I walked into his office one day and there's a pile of what we called case binders on FHA mortgages of closed loans. There were like 2 or 3 dozen of these files, and I said, what's up? He's like, oh, we're being audited by HUD. And he seemed unconcerned. He just had to work through this package, this pile of files. Some months later, I remembered about it when I was in his office. Hey, how do we do with the audit? He says, oh, I beat them. I beat them on every single question they asked. Because at our bank, we had prepared for these questions to come up, which is why I said to all of you during the pandemic, you need to prepare. And now my prediction is coming true. The SBA is auditing these files. If you have received an email like that, or if you want to prepare for it, click on the link for our EIDL Resource Hub. There's an entire chapter about getting audited, and I'm about to update it, and we're about to increase the price for the Resource Hub with more updates about this aspect. Next, November 6th, Wednesday night, first Wednesday in the month, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time, we will go live answering your questions. We're definitely going to be discussing the new initiative from the SBA, where they are now scaring the hell out of small business owners who took out COVID loans, and they are doing what's called post-closing compliance review. And I've warned you in previous videos, this is going to beat this one to death for a couple of weeks because it's a thing. A year ago, November, December of last year, January, February of 2024, it was the U.S. Treasury. This year, it's post-closing compliance review. If your small business got an economic injury disaster loan during the pandemic, or if you are applying for or trying to think about applying for a natural disaster loan from the Small Business Administration, you need to tune in November 6th, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time for our live question and answer session. And specifically, if you have had a particular problem with the SBA, we got a note from one of our clients yesterday that an email he sent to the SBA was bounced back multiple times, and it's an email address that I've used for the SBA COVID Servicing Center for months and months and months with no problem. I'm going to test it later today. But issues like that, little idiosyncratic issues, we'd love it if you could pop it into the comments and tell us things that you're seeing with your COVID-19 EIDL in your interactions with the Small Business Administration or with the natural disaster application. And tune in on November 6th. We'll see you then.